This is going to be the first vid in a series of vids that I'm going to do documenting a canoe trip into the Bwca, or the Boundary Waters in Minnesota. It's called the QUETICO Park on the Canadian side, and it is located along the northernmost border of Minnesota and Canada. If you don't know what the Bwca is, it's best you stop this video and go research it yourself. In a nutshell, it is over 1 million acres of some of the most pristine wilderness left on the planet. There is nothing like it that I've ever seen on the face of the planet. The Bwca is one of the reasons why I even moved to Minnesota, just to have closer access to it. This trip is going to be a very basic trip. That's why I thought it'd be a great one to do a documentary on, and it's going to be 5 guys for about 5 days. So I'm going to go over with what I start with first, which is food, and I'm exclusively using Babel Fish 5's recipes for this trip, with the only exception of my homemade salsa. So if you guys want to check out some of these recipes that you see me making, or that you see me eating on this trip, check out Babel Fish 5's channel. Lightweight hiking, canoeing, wilderness camping, whatever, is an art form, and it takes a long time to build up skills in that area. You cannot read a book and get the skills that you need in order to lightweight camp efficiently. So I'm hoping to pass some of that on. Although this is a very basic trip, this is not going to be a demanding trip at all. You know, there'll be some physical demands for this, but it's pretty easy. As a general guideline, I'm about to give you a gem here. As a general guideline, when lightweight camping, you want to shoot for a 3,000 to 4,000 calorie intake a day for an average guy. Now that can vary depending upon the weather and your physical exertion, but 3,000 to 4,000 is what I'm shooting for. And I want to keep that under a 1.5 to 2 pounds a day for food. Okay, fall is here, and fall is definitely my favorite time of year. You know, I love all the seasons. I love them. Each one has its own feel to it, but fall is my favorite time of year by far. I mean, I just love the smell and the feel of harvest. Today is a perfect example of these deep blue skies. The waters are blue, cool nights, trees are red, orange, yellows out there today. It's just absolutely beautiful. In fact, I'd rather be out there than making this video right now, but I've been dehydrating food for over the last 3 or 4 days. Different meals, lunches, and snacks for upcoming trips, going all the way into winter. And when I tend to dehydrate, I tend to do it all at once. In the dehydrator right now, I've got deer stew. I just took out a Cuban black bean. I've done deer chili mac. I've got some Aztec chicken here as well that I put in there. And I just want to share this with you on how I package this and prepare it for trips. Now, dehydrating food is not my favorite way to preserve food, because it takes so much time and energy to dehydrate, and then it takes time and energy again to rehydrate. If I'm going to keep food at home long term, I would much rather can it, you know, water bath or pressure cooker, or I'd rather freeze it. Both of those are much more efficient than dehydrating. However, dehydrating food definitely has its place, especially if you want emergency packed food, or you want to keep bulk food for long-term storage. In this case, I'm just making meals that will taste a hell of a lot better than what I can buy at the store, and save me a lot of money by doing it myself. So it's just the best of both worlds. It's a prepper thing. Now, what I really like about making my own meals is I can make them delicious. I can make them the way I want to. Unlike the store-bought meals that are full of salt and all kinds of other shelf-life stable chemicals, I don't have to add any of that. So just the quality of your food is going to be better. I want to show you real quick how I package up meals. You wouldn't think there'd be a lot to this, but there are some tricks, especially the parchment paper, that I want to show you. Now, I used to pack meals directly into my backpacks. And what happens is that meat, especially when it dries, gets pretty sharp and it'll poke holes in the backpack, and then you lose your seal. And that kind of defeats the purpose of backpacking, of course. Then I used to use Ziploc bags, and I used to put a Ziploc bag inside of the backpack to kind of protect it, and that, you know, not only is more expensive, but it just has more garbage out there. And then, I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but I got a tip online about using parchment paper. I read it on some hiking forum, and I used candy confectioner bags for a while, but actually parchment paper I found to be the best. And there's a few reasons for that I want to explain to you. I make small pockets out of them just by folding the open ends. What I like about the parchment paper is it has several different uses. Parchment paper can take heat up to 420 degrees. So I have found that I can take my cup and just take the used parchment paper that I brought in as the pouch. I can put it inside my cup and stick a little bannock in there, and I can bake in my cup. Or I can stick the parchment paper on a slice of wood or even a rock and use it as a baking surface. It's fantastic. So it has not only one use, but when I get it there, then I have another use for it. And if I'm not baking at all, this stuff makes great fire tinder. This actually I can save, crumple it up, and it doesn't burn as fast. It has a certain fire resistance. It's almost like a fuse, the way it burns nice and slow. I like it. So it has several uses for bringing it out there. Anyway, I dump it in to my parchment bag. Then I put it in the backpack. And then I seal it up like that. In the end, I've got this. And it makes for a nice little personal meal for me on the trail. Homemade dehydrated food dinners. The easiest way I have found to repackage the dehydrated food is to just dump them from the tray into a plastic bag. It is close to impossible to do this neatly any other way that I have found. So I just dump them into a plastic bag. I make up my parchment paper bag just by folding the ends a couple times to seal them up. And I split it up into 2-cup servings for dinners or lunches. And for snacks like this is a bean dip, believe it or not. I'll do this into one cup servings. Dinners and lunches, again, I'll do in the 2-cup servings. And I'll take my parchment bag and successfully most of the time dump it in there, and then I'll take it downstairs and vacuum pack it. Get that one little last bit. I can kind of form it up into a cup into my hand like that, and then I can dump it in so I don't waste anything. So yay for plastic bags. Yay. You can never really have too much bag. You know, I don't want to use a giant gallon bag for this, but it's not a bad idea to have a little more bag than you need, because you're going to have to put water in there and it's going to have to sit for a while. You want to be able to fold it up. So I just use quart bags for pretty much everything else. So I'll heat up some flour tortillas to go with that over the fire, and I've got a couple snack sized portions of bean dip out there. It makes a great snack, high energy food. Deer meat is an excellent meat to dehydrate because it's low in fat to start with. It's pretty lean meat. Whenever I'm doing any kind of meats, whether it's deer meat or beef or chicken, I always, I'll cook it and then I'll rinse it in hot water to try to remove all the fats, because it is the fat that's going to go rancid on you. And try to keep your chunks small as possible that you can deal with. The smaller the chunks, the easier it is to dehydrate, but it's also easier to rehydrate. Even in this case, if I can bring this down for you to see here, I'm going to cut some of these bigger chunks up, whereas that would be okay if I was just eating it out of the pot. And because you have to rinse your meat and make it as devoid of fat as possible, that's why you use a lot of broth to bring that flavor back in your dehydrated meals. I'm going to dehydrate some pesto for this upcoming trip, a real garlicky pesto. I'll do a little camp bread and spread this all over the place. I like to really snack it up when I'm on the trail, so I'm going to do some salsa as well. This is my homemade salsa. I'm just going to dehydrate it without making a mess, hopefully. Thin. You want to keep it thin. That'll dehydrate the best. Many of you might have seen the mess kits that I have in past or prior videos, and I usually carry a couple titanium pots and some cozies to go with them. The guys I'm going with don't have that equipment, and you'll run into that a lot. If you try to pick up partners to go, a lot of the times they don't have the equipment needed to lightweight backpack. So some of the meals that I'm bringing up, they're not going to be able to rehydrate them the way I can with my mess kit. So I'm letting them borrow the bags that I make out of the same insulating material that I make my pot cozies from. You know what else you can use that for? A seat. Yes, that's right. This cooking bag doubles as a nice, warm, dry, lightweight seat pad. We'll make some corn dodgers for that Cuban black bean soup. So the very first thing I plan, that's how important this is to me, the very first thing I plan after the initial, yeah, let's go there for that long, is the menu. And I make sure every I and T is dotted on that. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's the first thing I plan. Get that straightened out, and your meals will really make or break your trip. That's why it's so important to me. It's, you know, the weather can do what it wants, but you can control how good those meals are going to be, and dehydrating and making your own meals, you can control them all that better. I don't skip out on desserts either. I always throw in a lot of snacks, and of course I augment with high energy foods like gorp and beef jerky as well. I will not go hungry on this trip, and I will eat well, and that's what I plan out first. Now the next thing that I'll plan out, or the next video, will be my pack. What am I taking for equipment? And that's going to have, just like this, it's going to have some basic guidelines of what I take every time, no matter what the environment is. But I will tailor fit what I take, even down to the backpack that I take, for where I'm going. And that's up in the next vid. Alright, ready.
Holy crap!